I'm waiting for the, okay. I'm turning the recorder on. It's 6:04 p.m. Today is Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. This is the Bluff Town Council meeting. Roll call.
Linda Sosa.
Jim Sayers.
Luanne Hook.
Ann Leppanen. Brant Murray is excused. Erin Nelson will not be joining us. So we're still getting a fair amount of feedback, so everyone should try muting and see if that helps. Then the first thing is the approval of the Bluff Town Council work session minutes of June 13th, 2023. Did everyone read them? Are there any changes, modifications, additions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. The second is the approval of the Bluff Town Council meeting minutes of June 13th, 2023. Has everybody received them? Have you read them? And are there any changes or modifications?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. We're going to do public comment the way we usually do, which is you have 3 minutes to make your public comment. Let us know by raising your hand. We will be discussing how public comment goes forward, starting with the next meeting, but for this one, we'll do it the usual way. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to make a public comment? Gary Lichtenstein, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm speaking for the Bluff Fire Department as Assistant Chief regarding extending the cooperative wildfire agreement. This has provided us great support in us, meaning the town, in mitigating our significant wildland interface threats in Bluff. We get credit for our share of participation by doing what we need to do anyway to reduce fire exposures. And without that agreement, we don't get help on catastrophic fires should they erupt around here. So we definitely support that renewal, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Anyone else who wishes to make a public comment? I'll wait a minute here and see if there's anyone else. We're still getting a fair amount of noise. Craig, can you tell where that's coming from?
Oh.
Okay. All right. Anybody with a public comment, or we'll move into business? All right. Then the first thing is the discussion and vote on modifying meeting information on the Town of Bluff agendas and the public comment process. So you'll note that Linda made some changes to the Bluff Town Council regular meeting minutes. Meeting header, so that the participation by telephone through Meet and then to view YouTube is up at the top. And then the last line is this meeting will be held electronically unless noted otherwise. We took out the sentence at the bottom that said, whatever it said. Let me think about it for a second. Oh, about the social distancing. So how does everyone feel about those changes to the agendas that go out? Lou, does this address your concerns?
Yeah, and I really like the way the YouTube channel is highlighted. But if we could highlight the meet.google, the CSV one, just like in its own little line right there.
Linda, is that pretty easy to do? Okay.
And just if you could put it in a different color or something, I think that would solve the.
I think putting it in blue is probably a good idea. I don't want to see us having like 8 different colors popping up all through the agendas. So I think the blue alerts people that there's something there. So if everyone's okay with that, then we.
Yeah, so what it would do, it would just make the public can participate by telephone through that link. And then the next sentence would be to view the live stream, go there. So that it's not all, because you definitely get your eye to the YouTube, but if we could just highlight that where the meeting is actually held, that would solve my concern.
Okay, I think that's doable. Because this is just a form, we don't need to take a vote on it, but I want to talk about the public comment process. And of course, I don't know that went out to folks because I did it at the last minute. So let me see if it did. Did anybody receive it separate from the agenda?
I don't think so.
This has been a crazy last couple of days.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. You sent yesterday.
Right, it was on the public comment. I'm just going to
Yeah, you
read.
sent that yesterday.
Yeah, I'll just read what planning and zoning had, which was really good. It was very organized script, and then the 2 points. So at the beginning of public comment, this was used for their public hearings, but I think it's a good reminder to have for public comment in general, that oral comments will be heard. Written comments are always welcome using office at Town of Bluff. To make an in-person public comment, that's if we're in person, please sign up using the clipboard. And I added at least 5 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. To make a virtual comment, and please drop your name in the chat box at least 5 minutes prior to the start of the Bluff Town Council meeting. And I'll go back to that because Erin and I had a discussion of how that would work. We will accept public comments and then virtual comments if we were doing a hybrid meeting. An individual may make a comment for up to 3 minutes and may ask the mayor for an additional 2 minutes. The Bluff Town Council will not be responding to public comments except in a rare instance. Please address all comments to the presiding body. If your comment has already been shared by others, simply state which comment you agree with. Please keep your comment period as an opportunity to treat others as you would like to be treated. Verbal abuse can result in the early termination of a comment or removal from the meeting. Anonymous comments will not be accepted. That's at the bottom of planning and zonings. And that's really questionable because there's a Supreme Court case directly on point, the U.S. Supreme Court case directly on point that negates that. And I think that's something we should talk about. But for right now, the ones that I had added as things to put into this, so we're all doing uniform introductions, was the randomness, like getting everybody in there 5 minutes before, and then there is an option online that Erin can enter all the names in. It kind of tosses it up like a bingo ball, and then you just pull the names out. So it's random. So people can't ask to go last, can't ask to go first, can't ask to go in the middle. It's just random. If you want to make a public comment, great, but it's somewhat controlled in that sense. And then the other is just addressing it to the public body. Once you take away the addressing of the public comment to the public only to the public body, and you include the audience, you've created a public hearing, and you haven't noticed a public hearing. So that's a really, I don't want to say a no-brainer, but it's something I hadn't really paid attention to until it was obvious that we were at risk for violating the notice requirements. I will clean these up after we discuss them. Does anybody on the council have a question about it, or do you want to make some changes? Does it sound okay to you?
Can you say that again about the danger of having a public meeting real briefly?
Sure.
Now?
So when you do a public meeting, right, we do an agenda. And the rule of thumb is, other than doing the other that should be just informational or catching a mistake, you don't talk about things that aren't on the agenda. In a public hearing, which is a separate notice and separate notice requirements, so you have to publish a public hearing in the paper for any one that you do. You can't just do one smack dab at the beginning of the year and call it a day. So if you turn to the audience and everybody's engaging with the audience, a person presenting is engaging, then they're engaging back in any way, that turns it into a public hearing that you have not properly noticed. And the Utah League has done several trainings on this. It's in the handbook, but it's just really clear. You have public meetings, you have public hearings, and you have work sessions. And when the audience engages, is controlled by the nature of the meeting or the hearing or the work session. Does that, are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I just want to be sure that we're not doing something we shouldn't be doing. So
My only comment would be the 5 minutes prior to the meeting.
and that's pretty typical. Most places don't let you just pop up and talk, most public bodies. And we've done it for 5 years, and and if you can think of a better way to do it so that we don't appear to be giving special treatment to someone, I'm fine with listening to it and talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think in an ideal world that would be good. But yeah, I mean, we can give it a try, and like you say, we can always do written comments and.
Yeah, and it may be that it doesn't work. I mean, I've got a fly hanging around here. Yeah, I'll go ahead and clean this up, and then we'll give this a try and revisit it after the first meeting or two and see if it works, and if it doesn't work, what changes do we make? Okay.
And then this will be, will this be on the agenda somewhere, like under public comment?
Probably, it'll probably be something that's posted like at the start of the meet, like 10, 15 minutes before the meeting. We'll just have to work through it and see how it works.
Okay, because I think you could do just a simple one-liner on the public comment part of the agenda that just says you'll need to sign up 5 minutes ahead of the start of the meeting, or send written comments to office@townofbluff.org. And I think that will keep people a little more aware.
Okay, we'll give that a try then. All right, if there's nothing else, let's move to number 2, a discussion and vote on the Town of Bluff tentative budget for fiscal year 2024. So I noticed on our website, I mean, it's been up now for a month while we've worked through changes and pieces, and it's up there now. It should have been included in the agenda packet by Erin. Well, in fact, it was. The only comment that I want to make on this is that you'll notice, looking under, say, general fund, under the taxes, so like right at this very second kind of section, licenses and permits, there's add land use approval fees, add grandma fees, add airport tie-down fees, add short-term rental licenses. Anything that says add was inadvertently left in for the purposes of passing the tentative budget. Those all come out because we haven't passed any of those and we haven't approved any of them or discussed them in detail. And unfortunately, Erin is out of town and not able to make the changes. And I don't know how to make the changes. So when you're looking at the budget, ignore anything that has before it, add, because that's not part of the budget. And if it's confusing, I can call a special meeting, but the budget numbers are what we talked about before.
Do you need a vote to approve?
I do, and then we'll need a vote for the resolution.
I move to approve the tentative budget for fiscal year 2024.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Then the resolution, no, it's unanimous since no one opposed it. Then the resolution is the same resolution as we've done in the past. It went out in the agenda, but that there's a tentative budget for 2024 revenues and expenditures, that this is the tentative budget that we're voting on, and that we voted and adopted it today.
So my comment would be that the resolution says that it was approved unanimously. And I think that probably needs to come out of the actual resolution, and then unless, yeah, anyway, that just seemed a little bit odd.
Well, that's when I thought all of us were here.
Right. See, so if somebody's not here or whatever, you know.
Thanks
probably-
for catching that. Yep, I can take that out.
Okay.
So we just take out the word unanimous. I did not know Brant was going to be gone until 10 minutes of 6 today, PM, which is fine, but
Well, and
Motion
just,
to,
yeah.
motion to approve with the revision.
second.
so you made a motion, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to approve with the revision.
And Lou, did you second that?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, there's 4 of us. I am going to mute myself for a minute to let a dog out onto the deck, and I'm going to step away for 1 second, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry, everybody. All right, so number 3, report on the walkthrough of the Cooperative Cultural Center ceilings and on the Design Review Committee meeting that was today for the Cooperative Cultural Center. So I did a walkthrough last week with Damian Ballerman, and we looked at the ceilings, and then it was pretty clear that our bid said 19,000 square feet, but it's probably closer to 14 or 15,000 square feet that have to come out. And that's because we have 2 other types of ceilings. We have wooden ceilings, and we have drywall with plaster ceilings in quite a few of the rooms. So Damien and I walked through eyeballing it, marking which room had which kind of a ceiling. And then we have 1 bid that came in before the bidding closed, but it's based on 19,000 square feet. So we'll need to reach out to the bidder once we get the actual footage and do a walkthrough with the company that bid, and then talk about it after that. But because this will probably fall on me to do the measurements tomorrow, I went out and purchased a laser measure, whatever they're called, so you can laser the rooms and we can get a much closer square footage. It was the only one at Ace Hardware. but I couldn't find anyone in town who had one. I'm sure there are people who have them. I just didn't locate one yesterday, and so I ordered it and picked it up today. So we'll have a lot better idea. The bid that did come in was right around $78,000, which is roughly what we had in the grant. But we'll talk with the bidder and then bring it back. I may need to call a special meeting in the next week just to get a vote on the bid or decide if there's something else you want to do. It would be like a 5-minute meeting, but I first want to get all of our ducks in a row. The other is that Jim has requested the official grant extension to be able to use the funds and have our contract reflect that with the, okay, what, Jim, the name of the grant is the cultural?
It's the Cultural Capital Grant, and I'm not sure if the name of the agency is the Cultural something in the state of Utah.
Okay, and so that request has been made, and that's really the way I read the information from the state is it's just pro forma. We just have to make the request, and so Jim's done that. So stay tuned on that piece. Any questions about the ceilings or the demolition on that?
Just a comment.
Mm-hmm.
The bid that came out to approximately $4 a square foot. So whatever the square footage is that you eventually measure with the new laser thing, it shouldn't be much more than that. About $4 a square foot, which is from what I've been reading, is a pretty fair price, very fair price. I mean, it's a little high, but considering where we're located, it's probably, it's just fine.
And that's what we'll have a chance to talk to before we approve the bid to be, accepted. So unless somebody wants to volunteer to go do laser measurements, I will traipse over there at some point tomorrow and get it done. I'll take somebody with me to write it down or actually to do it while I write it down. Then today, let me see here. Then today we went ahead and had a design review committee, but there was no appearance by anyone on UDB's side to be able to do any serious discussion. Only Dave Conine was available. So we just talked about the future of other grants and how we would make decisions on bidding. He asked about how our procurement policy works again, and we went through that. Norman Lehman was on the call and said that he wanted to put a bid in, but he just hadn't gotten all the things that he needed to do to be able to do that. And I told him the bidding is closed at this point, but we would be having a discussion with the bidder about some technicalities, and if anything changed, I would, certainly get back with him. But other than that, it was just the three of us. Jim, the suggestion with the 4th of July coming up, I think is probably a good one, is to not schedule any more DRC meetings until we get to that second week of July when everybody's back in town and able to get together in person. If that's okay.
You read my mind.
Okay. Yep. So I think that was a consensus that Dave had, and I know that from meeting with Woody this last week when he came in to sign the check, that he's not opposed to doing it that way either. So we can just push it out to the second week of July and then our in-person meeting.
Good deal.
Anything else on 3 or 4, since we're going to hold off on voting on the bidding?
If we're going to modify the contract at all, or if it comes up at all, it would be good if a few of the lighting fixtures or ballasts, as they are known, could be saved. In the current bid, it looks like everything would be taken out. But a few lighting fixtures that could be saved and still, could be used for light. Otherwise, it's going to be very dark.
Yeah, Damien, thanks for saying that. Damien and I talked about that, and UDB would like to have all the lights to the extent that they can, just save them and put them in one of the storerooms, and then use like one or two portable construction lights that can be moved around. But certainly,
Okay.
like leaving some strategically placed lighting might be a good idea.
Yeah, just use some baling wire to hang them up or something.
Okay. Anything further on that? All right, then number 5, update on the Acton and School Institutional Trust Lands Administration petition to disconnect 9,500 acres from the town of Bluff. There's really not much to report other than the pretty much what we all know, that Sitla has joined the Actons in the petition, and discussions are kind of ongoing, I think, between the attorneys. We have a hearing date set, a public hearing date set of August 15th at 6:00 p.m. 2 dates were offered to Bruce Baird and his clients. One was August 15th and one was August 23rd, and they went with the 15th. So we'll need to do some work and have some discussions, but the notices will start going out to folks, and we'll get things posted probably in the next couple of weeks. Any questions or thoughts on that? Anything? Oh, are you not hearing something, Jim Cook?
And I'm hearing you talk about number 3 and number 5 and number 6 all at the same time. It's just a jumble of over and over and over.
Huh. Is anybody else having the problem? I'm wondering if it's something in your computer microphone that's doing that. So I've not seen that anyone else is having that problem. I'm assuming, Craig, there's no way for you to know what that's about. Okay. Sorry, Jim Hook, I'm not.
I'll just leave.
And we've got YouTube as an option. Maybe hopefully it's going through YouTube. Okay.
Well, the other thing you could do is log in on the telephone.
Mhm.
That might be something. All right, if there's nothing further on 5, then go to number 6, which is review and possibly a vote on the application for food vendor and crafts at the Bluff Solar Eclipse. I think that went out to everyone. Did everyone get it? It's just one page. It's a very short draft application. Did anyone not get it? Let's start with that.
It wasn't part of our packet. Let me just see.
No, I didn't get it until today, and I believe I forwarded it all to you. It would have been from Carrie Harris. It's a very nice one-page condensed.
I don't think I've gotten it, but
So here's what I'd like to propose. It's very straightforward, which the committee, which consists of Jen Davila, myself, and Carrie. And thank you to Carrie Harris, because she kind of condensed everything into this one page. It just says here that the town of Bluff will be in a path of totality. We're providing a central location for food vendors and craft vendors. And in order to be included in this central location, please fill out the application by clicking on the link, and you will be notified no later than September 14th, 2023 that you've been accepted. And then it says some important information. It gives the dates, which would be Thursday evening, October 12th through Saturday, October 14th, 2023. The application deadline would be August 1, 2023. The fee would be $25 a day, which would be due 10 days after their given notice that they've been accepted. There's no power available and there is no water available, and that the town is not responsible for collecting or paying the sales tax from the vendors. Vendors should track, report, and pay any sales tax from the sale of their goods and services, and then there'd be a link to the application. Because we'd like to get this out, I'd like to have us put it as a trial run on the website to see how it works, and then bring it back for any fine tuning. But because we're at the end of June and we don't meet again until July, we aren't even at the end of June. We don't meet until July 11th. The committee would like to get this on the website to begin collecting information from folks. Would that be something that you all could live with if we put this out there and then fine tuned it if we needed to on the 11th?
Say as you're muted, but I will say I think it seems fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I really like how Carrie put it together because it's really straightforward. We looked at some that were like 5 pages, 6 pages long, and this is pretty straight. So what I'll do is work with Erin and Carrie. We'll get it on the website, and then I will put it on for official approval on the 11th. But this gives us a chance to see how it works and if there's any information we're missing. Anything further on that? And then the council will need to vote on how many applicants we want to accept at that time. So, and maybe the screening process for that. Then moving to number 7, which is update on the 2023 primary and general election dates. The governor has not yet signed the bill, as I understand it, moving the election dates, but he did sign the proclamation. So I'll make this announcement one more time that both the primary and the general will be moved, which means that the new election dates will be for the primary September 5th and for the general November 21st. I can tell you right now that these 2 dates are not very popular with folks who have to work the elections because the 5th is right after Labor Day, and the November 21st is on top of Thanksgiving. What it means for us, the council, in working with San Juan County, is that we are going to have to do the canvass this year, which we have never done. We will have to canvass the election results, and there's a short turnaround for canvassing, as you might remember from when we were all first elected and the county didn't hold the canvass for a week past the due date. This means that those people who are thinking of taking Labor Day as an extended holiday or Thanksgiving as an extended holiday and not being physically available, I need to know it sooner rather than later, and we'll have a work session on it to divide up the work so that we're all shouldering the pain, so to speak. I don't know what all goes into canvassing. I know generally, but I do know that we're going to have to be physically present, at least 3 of us. So we have to have a quorum. So think about it. For those candidates who've declared, those dates could be interesting as well. And as soon as I know anything about how the voting process works in terms of the mail-in votes, the write-in deadlines, and the days that we may or may not have in-person voting here or early voting, I'll let everybody know. Lou? You're muted.
Yeah, so does it, I know with the election judges or whatever, the sitting with the booth had to be non-elected. How does it work for county? Who does the canvassing of the election? Is that got to be staff, or is it okay to have it as elected officials?
Okay, so the collection is one thing, and that'll be done by San Juan County staff. And Lyman Duncan, who's an elected official. The canvassing is done by the presiding body of the county, which would be the 3 commissioners. The canvassing would be done by the elected officials of the Bluff Town Council. So the canvassing and the collecting are 2 different issues.
But they have different rules.
Yes, because the collection this year will involve videotaping, the boxes going in and out, the counting for the canvassing, the approval of the canvassing, which is where we have to vote that it's been a fair election, that everything's been diligently done and covered, which we have never done. And I'm going to have to take some training to learn how we do it and do it right. Lyman Duncan was in Ogden last week, I think with Mac McDonald, and they were doing some training on how to make these changes. There's money appropriated by the legislature to cover the increased cost of making these changes. But it's just a change, and it's going to require the county telling us what they're doing and then us picking up our duties. Any thoughts? Or there's a lot of materials if you want to log into the league. They're doing training, so you can log in and listen to what they're telling us.
Okay.
All right. So number 8, consideration of Pathway Associates proposal to provide strategic planning follow-up services for the town of Bluff. So if you think back to the strategic planning, it was the big group, and then there were small groups, and then there was a primary group of Jim Sayers, myself, Erin Nelson, and Dan Myers. And in the course of looking at the strategic planning and working on each of our pieces, plus putting the strategic plan draft in place, it occurred to some of us that for the first year after strategic planning is in place and approved by the council, it might be a really good use of a couple $1,000s to keep Pathway to do a couple check-in points, like every 3 or every 4 or every 6. This is just so you can read through the proposal the Pathway has put out for that 1-year check-in plan. Erin, Jim, Dan, and myself are meeting sometime in the next 2 weeks to go over the final draft of the strategic plan and say thumbs up or thumbs down. Then on July, is that right? Yes, July 11th. Then what we would do is the Pathway strategic planners would present the plan to the town. So we'd probably have like a hybrid meeting so that people could actually ask questions of the planners if they had them, people meaning people in the community or the council. But Pathways will give a summary of what this document is. The document will be available for everyone. Then the council would vote on it and hopefully approve it. Then at that point, after you've had time to really think about it, then we'll put back on the agenda later in July whether we want to hire Pathways to do the check-in at periodic points to make sure we're following the plan or that the plan doesn't have any big bubble that we didn't catch. So it's not for a vote tonight. It's really to bring it to your attention. And I'm assuming that was in the packet. I mentioned to Erin, I do my own.
It was separate.
Was it separate? Okay.
I think so. It was for me.
Okay, good. Well, as long as you've all got it, so it's a point to be discussed after we approve the strategic plan itself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
As you're reading the draft, after we get it kind of cleaned up here, we'll send it out to the council, and as you're reading it, if there are things that you catch that you think are incorrect, not that necessarily you disagree, but you think it's an error that we made in putting it together, let one of the four of us know right away so we can bring it to Judith and Julie's attention. Well, if there aren't any more questions on that, then we'll move to the Cooperative Wildfire Systems Agreement. Back in 2019, I believe it was, although it could have been 2018, we approved the agreement with the Department of Natural Resources for the State of Utah, Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, also known as FFSL. And last week we were contacted by Ryan MacArthur, the county fire warden, to say that our plan has expired, our agreement has expired. And because the legislature has made some changes, the department is rewriting some sections of our agreement. But in the meantime, we don't have a valid agreement, and they're asking us to sign an extension of the agreement that we signed back in 2018 or 2019. So it's the same criteria. As you heard from Gary Lichtenstein, the assistant captain, that this is not just because it's not just anything. It's an extension of our agreement with them to participate and to count the hours that our fire department puts in as our payment toward the fee for this coverage. So the immediacy of it is this has to be back to them by the 23rd. And Ryan has asked me to let him know if we signed it tonight, because he will drive down from Monticello and pick it up tomorrow, unless somebody's going up to Monticello and can take it to him.
Based on what I know and what Mr. Lichtenstein mentioned in the outset here, I'll just, without further ado, just make a motion to extend this current agreement.
One second.
Any further comment? Otherwise, I'll sign it after we vote. So all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so back to my question. If anybody is going to Monticello tomorrow, if you'd let me know, it would save Ryan a trip. But otherwise, I will let him know tonight that he can pick it up. We could also scan it, but it sounded from the conversation like he'd prefer to have the original in hand. Okay. Then I just signed that, and I probably signed it in the wrong spot, so I'll take another look at it. It's been a long day. All right. I'm going to ask to defer number 10, which is a discussion of the estimate for the removal of playground equipment at the CCC, to the 11th of July, because we don't actually put this out for bid. We just put it out there and ask if anybody's interested. And there is another entity that's interested in putting in a dollar amount bid or a dollar amount estimate. So I want to give them an opportunity since there's no cutoff date. So unless somebody has a burning need to get that playground equipment done this week, can I defer it to the 11th?
That just reminds me that I drove by and saw the gates open. I don't know if somebody was in there. I didn't go back and check, but to the playground area. So somebody might swing by and just see.
It could be that somebody was putting in food, but to the best of my knowledge, there was nobody there from UDB. There's no bookkeeper there, and none of us were there. but there is an intern working for UDB who might have been delivering food or picking up food. But
Okay.
it'd be good if somebody could check.
It was this morning when I saw it, and then it escaped my mind until now when you're talking about playground. So anyway, it was just those two gates were ajar, and I didn't see anybody around.
Okay. Well, if somebody can check it, that would be great. Otherwise, I'll go over there tomorrow morning and check it out.
I should be able to make myself a note. See.
Thanks, Lou. That would be good. All right, then. Number 11, report on Bluff Waterworks meeting on June 14th, 2023. Linda and I went to Bluff Waterworks meeting. This is their monthly meeting. And there were a couple of interesting things, more in the sense of the other. Water system's running fine. You know, it's not anything that was unusual. The state auditor signed off on the audit that they have to do every year. What was in the other piece is that Steve Simpson raised two areas. One was that he is on the board of Bears Ears Partnership, which was FCM, Friends of Cedar Mesa, and they've had a discussion about wanting to talk to the town about selling them the Barwell property so that they can have more space. And what I said was, what I had told two of their different board members who'd approached me separately, is that's not my decision. That's a discussion for the Blufftown Council, and there's a process that has to be followed, but most likely the first step would be that whoever is interested in purchasing it would say, hey, I'm interested in purchasing it. What does the town want to do? Because disposition of real property requires more than us just sitting down and going, oh yeah, I think we should sell it. And then we just sell it. There's a whole process for sale of municipal real property. And so I just let him know that two other people had approached me from BEP and that my answer was still the same. It's a decision that has to be, a request that has to be made of us. And then we have to make decisions and follow a process if we are interested in selling. Then the second thing that he raised, that Steve Simpson raised, was kind of a broad discussion about how do we move Bluff Waterworks into the town of Bluff and how that will play out in the next few years. And Marks Powell really pretty much nailed it by saying that he and I'd had some conversations about ways to do it. Marks referred to it as setting out a 5-year plan, and I don't think I care what the plan is called. I think there does need to be a plan. And it sounded to me from the general discussion that folks were interested in getting, together and starting to try to talk about what this would look like, because it's not as simple as maybe 5 years I felt it might be, like let's just do it kind of thing. We really do have to look at the structure of the organization, how it would fit in, how it would be run, what kind of bylaws or rules would they function by, who do we get trained for those jobs, who pays those people who are getting trained. It's such a big process, but it would be good, I think, after, I'm just throwing this out, after the election, to maybe set up a joint meeting again with Bluff Waterworks and the town council in January, February, and starting to have the discussions. I think, Linda, is there anything else that, there was a pretty detailed discussion about the well on Barwell and the need to drill deeper and have different size casing and the quality, and then the concern about how close septic fields are to the Barwell well. But as I said, those are all probably very premature discussions on both pieces. So I know I'm interested in sitting down after the first of the year and having a discussion. And I think it's something we should keep on our radar.
Yep, that's good. I think
Yeah.
it's been a goal for a long time, so that's good to hear.
All right, then, if there's no other discussion on that, then report on planning and zoning and on the active transportation advisory committee. I'll just mute myself, Lou, if you want to take those.
Okay, so on planning and zoning, that was the meeting that I could not attend, and Erin was there. I did look over the minutes, and basically she gave the update from town council, and there were no land use clearances. And then their basic discussion they had a work session before their regular meeting on Tuesday, and then they had their regular meeting on Wednesday, which was, I believe, the 7th. And during that, both of those, the topic is whether we need an aviation ordinance and how to go about that, and they're doing research and whatnot on that. And then there's also discussion about having a joint meeting to do the changes in the land use that's coming down from the legislature. So that was the gist of it. I did not have time yet to listen to it on YouTube, but that was what was in the minutes. And then they don't have a meeting tomorrow, and I'm not sure when the next one is.
Okay, active transportation.
Okay, yeah, active transportation, we're not a whole lot of update, except that we're just still working on the map edits that Bike Utah has provided. And we're the committee and the focus committee, the active transportation advisory committee of the 5 people plus the focus group are all working to make edits on those maps, send them back to Bike Utah sending them back down again. So it's in that stage. And then the public comment period, once the committee gets them looked over, then we'll take in the whole public comment on sort of the draft of what the committee comes up with. And other than that, there was an interesting thing that just came in today on a grant process, that if we get the map figured out and get the active transportation plan finalized in August, there's a US DOT grant that's a no match, and that would cover our engineering costs. So that was a nice little thing to see come by, but it's August 14th is when they start taking them. It's first come, first serve. You have to compete for it, of course, but we would need to have our active transportation plan in place and the map in place. And then we need an engineer to look at the specifics of where the trail would be and specifics of, easements and all that. We will need that. So if we could get that and apply for that federal grant, that could be a good boost. But anyway, other than that, we're just working. There'll be another meeting on the 27th. We do bi-weekly. And for the people listening, the easiest place to find that is just to go to our town website and then look for boards and committees. And right there, it tells you the schedule, and you can click on the meeting and join anytime you like. Do the same thing with public comment. There's public comment period, and then the work begins.
Thanks, Lou. Any questions from the council or comments? All right, then moving to number 13, the financial report. Linda.
I sent everyone the financial report a day or two ago, and today noticed a couple that were wrong and removed them. So the one that I sent an hour or two ago is correct. So basically, are there any questions, and can we have a vote to approve or accept?
So Linda, did you just take things off? Because I saw the revised one and I could not spot what their changes, but is it just that they're just things that are removed, not added?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Then I'm fine with it.
So is there a motion? Okay, Jim's lips are moving, but I can't hear him.
Motion to approve the expenditures.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right.
So,
Moving-
okay, never mind.
Is this the total amount for the McClure inspections guy? Or is that half of it?
No, that's
yeah. It's the entire amount.
Okay, great. Thanks.
all right. Then moving to the other. I don't have any. Oh, wait, I do have one other. Today, later this afternoon, Mac McDonald approved the form acknowledging that the town of Bluff actually holds the airport lease, and everything went in then to the state of Utah. I got a confirmation back from the state saying they have what they need and that they'll be working on the funding. So we're good to go.
Great.
And thanks to Jim Hook for helping with that. That was something we had to get moving.
Motion to adjourn.
I take it no one else has another. Okay. All right. Motion to adjourn. It is 7:01 p.m. Brant's going to be sorry he missed this one. All right. Is
I
there
doubt it.
is there a second?
Yes, I'll second. Sorry.
That's okay. All in favor say aye. Aye.
All right.
Aye.
All right. Anyone opposed? All right. I'm turning off the recorder and leaving the meeting. Thanks all.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.